They seek you out. You are strong, but they steal your blood. They seek you out because you are successful. You have an eternal life force to feed them. They siphon your blood. They seek you out because you are everything they want to be, and they suck you dry. They seek you out and make you cry again and again and again. And you endure almighty pain. They seek you out. Your soul is beautiful. And slowly, 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 it's chipped and chipped away. They seek you out. Jealous is bare. You should have no one but them. You become scared. They seek you out. You're positively drained. Your soul demented. You question your life. You question yourself over and over again. Until one day you find the strength to say, no more, no more. You will not change ever. This is not forever. No more chances. No more skirting between the dances, the facade, the shitstorm of the whole. No more vampires for this soul. Those vampires feast all the while. You think they're gone, but they're always lurking. Beware, beware, my soul. Vampires have been so many times before. Please, no more vampires for this soul. Thank you.
Hi, Amanda Crundle. Welcome to All FM. Great to have you here.
Oh, good morning, Ruth. It's great to be on your show today.
Oh, yeah, excited to have you on the show. I've heard a lot about you. I've seen some of your performances online as well, and we've got you on the show today to celebrate the release of your second book, The Emboldened Heart. It's come hot off the heels of Heart on Her Sleeve, which you released in 2024, and you're actually in the middle of a book tour as well, aren't you?
I am, yes. It's been going really well. So throughout January, February so far, I've been, all over the place, celebrating the book launch, and very much flying the flag for women, really.
It's really exciting. I know we need to say that this is a poetry book, and you're known as the glam poet as well, so it's all very glamorous that you're going on tour and that you're on tour already. And one of the things I really love about the title, well, the two titles really, is that there is sort of a fragility to wearing your heart on your sleeve, which is what you've begun with. But now for part two in the collection, it shows that you've become bolder and braver in a way. Did you feel that with this collection?
I did. So originally, as you say, with Heart on Her Sleeve, it was recovering from quite a fragile and vulnerable place, and the Phoenix represented that comeback really into life. The second collection, The Emboldened Heart, it is like a continuation of healing from many different things in life, and an expression of more about what happens in the world as well, particularly around the challenges as a woman and a mother, particularly a single mum. Very much I definitely feel that I'm channeling more the boldness and that bravery to keep on plodding through life and keep championing, and as I've said to many people, if my writing, poetry, or the prose sections helps another put pen to paper, or they just can relate or somehow feel heard, then, that would be a great outcome.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was so keen to have you on in this sort of run-up season to International Women's Day, because I think there are still so many women that sort of, they don't speak out enough about the things that are concerning them. And one of your sort of roles in the end when you become a poet is you kind of become a voice for all those that don't really speak out loud, and sort of encourage them as well, more so when they see your performances, I'd say.
Absolutely. It's allowing those unheard to be heard.
Yeah.
And certainly being able to perform words. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea and they don't always like to perform, but performing for me as a performance poet, it is very empowering. And it allows, I say to people, say it out loud.
Yeah.
It might help. And for me, it's very much a cathartic therapeutic outlet. And it's becoming much more than that now. I've started to embark on writing a children's book, and I'm already writing another poetry collection, which will be very different, or certainly a new era going forward. So it's yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that later on, because what was next for you in a way? Because one of the reasons that I was keen to ask you that is, for your second collection, you have separated it into 5 different parts, in a way. They all tackle sort of different aspects of life, really. But we can go through them in a minute. But for part 5, you've got Remembering, which is delving into more prose than poetry. And I was wondering, was that the direction that you were hoping to take your writing? But it looks like as if you'll do a bit of both.
Yeah, I absolutely love writing poetry and some more spoken word pieces that I like to perform. But the Remembering section is very much prose short stories that reflect my childhood, and I've said to many a person who's come to one of my tour events recently, it's only the last few years that I've actually been able to remember all the great stuff I did as a kid. And I think sometimes when you've gone through lots of trauma, the brain shuts things down. And I just, sadly, I kept thinking, oh, I must have done something good. We must have had fun. Why can't I remember playing? Why can't I remember this? And it's only the last couple of years, I think, from going through much more of a healing process, that those memories have come back. And started writing stories about different things. They were very much enjoyed by people close around me. And I thought, right, okay, I'm liking this. I'm enjoying writing stories. And it just seemed a natural addition to the collection, and it's at the end in part 5, because it's not that all the poetry is linear in the book, but it seems to be the right place for it, because it's about moving forwards. It's being able to reflect and get some happiness about those memories coming back and going into this new era, into book 3, if you like, with there's some good stuff there. There's everything, life's not all been bad, if you like.
Yes.
There's some great parts of childhood there. So yes, that is part 5. And I've been asked before as well as to whether or not I write poetry and prose simultaneously. And what I can only say at this point is the stories came quite quickly, one after the other. Over a probably 3-month period. During that time, I don't think I wrote a lot of poetry. I think I was very much in the zone of writing stories. And that seems to be how I work. I seem to do one or the other,
right,
and then come back to the other one.
I think everyone's writing process is interesting because it's so different. Like you can speak to so many different authors, and the story of how and when they got into writing is just as interesting as the stuff that they are actually writing. But I think it's so fascinating to hear that, you've had all these memories coming back to you over the past couple of years. And do you think that's just because you've been writing more? So like your writing, do you actually do it handwritten, or do you do it all on your keyboard? And
I do both.
Okay. Yeah.
Usually from practical purposes. I like to put pen to paper because I think you connect with your words in a different way.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's not always possible. If you suddenly have an idea, I might jot a few notes down on my phone.
Yeah.
And in an email to myself, and then I will then work on that later at the day or the next day. But I do both.
It's a great way of getting your brain. Yeah, it's a great way to get your brain working as well, doing the handwriting. But I guess also it's having this intention that you are going to get something that you're going to record. So much can get lost, can't it, if you don't make that intention. I am going to capture this nugget of whatever's come to me and get it down somehow. And I think that probably helps in this process of unearthing the archives of your brain, in a sense, and coming up with these memories and stuff.
Absolutely. And, I've woken in the night before with a particular theme running around my head. So I'll put the light on. I'll write some keywords down so that I don't lose them, because it's very frustrating sometimes when you think, oh, what was I thinking last night? Oh, there's a really great connection that I was thinking of for a poem. And sometimes you lose that. But yeah, many a time I've woken up and jotted a few words down, or during the day I might suddenly think, I need to jot that down, and then I'll come to it later. And I tend to write with poetry. I tend to always have a flurry. Again, people have asked me, do I write one poem and then it might be a little time later I write another one, but they seem to come in threes. They're a little bit like buses.
Oh, wow.
So I tend to have a flurry of poems, not always about the same subject, but sometimes they might be loosely connected.
Well, I love what you just said about sometimes you'll get up in the night and you'll put the light on, because you literally are sort of putting the light on as well, because your book's got a great balance of light and shade in it, doesn't it? And I felt as if the book had a lovely rhythm to it as well with this light and shade. And yes, you are covering some deep, dark topics, but you're also sprinkling it with just the right amount of humour as well. So how important was it for you to get that balance across to the reader?
Absolutely. I think for my own sanity, I wanted to be able to find that light, particularly in the earlier days with the first debut collection. And I was really delighted that by the end of the point where I got to submit the book, that they were probably slightly more light than dark.
Right.
And it really surprised me, because I thought, there's so much darkness in a lot of the poems in book one, but actually they did balance. And I would say in my newer collection, there's far more variation of topics in the second one. They're still dealing with healing, and also a lot of reflections on autism and neurodiversity. A very neurodiverse family and the challenges that brings. It can be, really difficult. But not only that, it's just looking at nature and nurture far more, and very much a lot about being a woman in a really, really difficult society that we all live in. And the fact that, we're into 2026 and we're in the second quarter of the 21st century, and the gaps between men and women are still not equal. And I was just reading from the unwomen.org website about that there's only 64% of the legal rights that men hold worldwide. Women have only 64% of the legal rights. So areas like life, work, money,
Mm.
property, mobility, business, retirement, they're all very much still disadvantaged for women.
It's absolutely shocking. It's like
It's
we've
not,
not made any
not
progress.
okay.
And obviously you and thank you again for bringing that to our attention, because statistics like this, they need to be heard often, just so that people can understand, because it's not that things are getting better, but it's like, no, we got to put this into perspective. And it's great that as well as having your own books out there, you have contributed to Right to Be Heard, and that was written for survivors of coercive abuse, wasn't it?
It was, yes, yeah. I 3 of my poems from my debut collection, Heart on Her Sleeve, were included in Right to Be Heard, which is a really powerful anthology, obviously written by women going through abusive relationships. And abuse doesn't stop when a relationship ends, sadly, and that post-separation abuse can often continue when there's children involved, and then all the complexities around the legal system, which is very, very misogynistic, sadly, and that women then are repeatedly let down, as are the children, with sometimes abusers still having access to
through the children and stuff as well.
So I can't flag the collection Right to Be Heard enough, and that was headed up by local Sheffield writer Beverly Ward. So I encourage your listeners to check out Right to Be Heard as well. It's a hard read, but it's an important read, and I think everybody should read it, man or woman.
Yes, yeah. I mean that's important to point out as well. I think these difficult conversations can sometimes be easier to have when you've heard a piece of poetry or you've read a piece of poetry. So do you find that people sort of come up to you and wanted to talk about topics that you've raised through your writing because you've written this particular poem?
Absolutely, all the time, Ruth. I've had hundreds of women come up to me and say, "That's me."
Yeah.
You just read my life in a nutshell. You just explained how I'm feeling right now, and the almost the thanks that they give to you for saying it out loud, and them getting some relatability and understanding that they feel that they're not alone.
And that's the power and the beauty of poetry. I think still so many people think, oh, poetry is just this flowery thing, but when you're a poet like yourself, you do, as you say, you become this relatable voice for them that may not feel that they can speak. And I think when people watch you performing as well, that can be quite empowering for them. But it's funny in your case, because you didn't necessarily think that you were even going to write your first book, did you?
No, it was never one of those things that was on the bucket list to write a book. It was very much just an organic thing. I just had all these poems, and I kept on writing and feeling better for doing it and performing. But I thought, oh, maybe I should do something with these. So it was very much a spontaneous decision in the end, and obviously I'm very, very pleased to have done it. And now I've got the book bug, and book 2's come out, and book 3 is in process. So yeah, I get a lot out of it, and it's not only just sharing, but it's seeing how it does help others.
Yeah,
and also the beautiful outcomes of other men and women saying, "Oh, I've started to write down how I feel." You have inspired me to do that, and that's magic. I never ever dreamt that could be a possibility, and that gives me so much happiness inside. And if I'm helping somebody, and my background very much is looking after others as a nurse, but this is reaching people in a different way, and it really does mean the world to me that I can help others who are struggling or have been through struggles, or that they even just find a way of being able to seek some comfort from maybe writing or reading.
Well, I was just going to bring that up, the fact that your background is that you are a cardiac nurse, which means that your books are right on brand, aren't they? It's all about the heart, but it's great that you sort of transferred that to this nurturing approach to your poetry, and it's really good to hear that you are encouraging men to speak as well, because there's a bit of an epidemic of men not speaking but bottling up their emotions, and obviously that they are the husbands, the sons and the brothers of women. So anything that you can do to encourage them to speak out about what's going on means that you may prevent them turning a woman into a punch bag, kind of thing.
Absolutely. And again, I've also had feedback from men saying, oh, women seem to be so much better at expressing how they feel and being able to be a bit more open about how they might be struggling, whereas men do take that much more internally, and I think that's also sometimes elements of bravado and role modeling and generational expectations of man and how they ought to behave and not show any signs of weakness or cry. And actually, we're all human beings. Yes, we're different. We're absolutely different between the sexes, but emotions affect both of us, and we can all seek some benefit from that. So yeah, I always find it very, very, very moving if I hear a man sharing emotive poetry, because that it's taken them an awful lot to share that. I'm not taking obviously any credit away from women with that either, but men are different. So yeah, it's good for both.
It's great, and it's good that you see it that way as well, because I think sometimes when it comes to International Women's Day, you'll have men saying things like, "Oh, what about Men's Day?" and they sort of get this impression that maybe women are going to take an ultra feminist approach to International Women's Day, but really it's like it's no, you're talking about the fact that just seeking that balance and ways to support both sexes, which is great.
I think it's very easy for somebody to almost gaslight a special day for women, or whether that's raising awareness of cancer, and then somebody will say, oh well, there's lots of other diseases, and it's like, well, no, don't take the importance away of this, because we know society isn't equal amongst men and women. We know that. So, yes, and loads needs to be done. And again, looking at the information I was reading from the Young Women .org website, it says that it would take 286 years to close the legal protection gaps for equal justice. And, that's why we need promotion of International Women's Day, because it's not equal. We're not taking anything away from man.
No.
We know they struggle, but this is very, very important. We don't have an equal place in society, and we just want that action for all.
Of course. Now, they often say that more men will perform on a stage than women, and it's also the same in radio. There's more men in radio than women. And you are actually radio presenter as well in is it Yorkshire?
It's in Beverley, East Yorkshire. Yes.
Yeah.
And I love doing that. I'm on a pause at the moment because of the book tour and juggling life and books and children and work and all sorts of things. But yes, I do love talking to the community. I think it helps me personally as well.
Yeah.
With my own, struggles in life. I love connecting and I love sharing music because, again, as you say, there's a big difference between performing on the radio, a woman and a man, and on the poetry scene. The poetry scene can be really quite male dominated, and to be honest, quite intimidating, and you can be very, very easily put off from going to certain schools, really, as a woman. And if you're, I like to think that I'm an empowered woman, but I still have vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I still have days where I doubt myself and think I don't think I can face a room full of men today, particularly given my history, and it can be very difficult. So I think we need more women on the radio. We need more women performing. And again, there's some amazing female performers, but there's a difference when you look at the old stats. There's always a big discrepancy, and we have to ask why.
Do you remember what your first performance, like your first poetry performance? Did you used to go to the open mics and just watch, or did you just one day decide I am going to get up there and find somewhere to perform? What was that like for you?
Yeah, so in terms of standing up in front of people with my working hat on, I've always done a lot of education around cardiology. So I've always been used to teaching adults and standing up in front of them, but to stand up in front of an audience and share my own words and some personal words, that was a really big deal. And I nearly backed out the night that I went along to a local open mic, and there was a fantastic woman called Mickey who came up to me and started chatting, who'd performed before, amazing performer. And I said, oh, I'm not sure. And she went, no, come on, sit with me at the front. You'll be fine. And I went up there with a lot of encouragement from her, and I did it. And it felt amazing. I felt terrified. I was shaking. My voice was trembling. But I shared a very personal piece.
Oh, wow.
Which I've never shared again and never will.
Okay.
I don't need to. It's not published, but it was an important piece I needed to say out loud. And I realised how cathartic it was. And I thought, I need to do that again. And I did. So I've been to lots of different groups and continue to do so. But I very much am in a writing mode more than performing mode at the moment for some reason. But I think that's what, when you're an introvert, extrovert, you go through phases of wanting to be on the stage and keep on performing and using your words, and then other times actually feeling a little bit more wanting to be locked away writing.
Yeah, and it's
so I go through phases.
That you allow that space for both, but again, it's great to hear women supporting women. You had that support to get up on stage and do your first performance, and then it became quite addictive for you. But how far along was it before you decided this isn't just going to be the odd open mic performance? I actually want it to be a book. Because a poetry book is a difficult thing to get out there in a way, isn't it? So it's a decision to make.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if it was even. I'm being very vague now. I think it was just more one day of reflection and looking back at my files and thinking, I've got loads here. What do I do with them? And I think it was just as simple as that. And I thought, well, maybe it's worthy. Maybe I'll ask a question of a couple of publishing companies, and things went from there. So it literally really just happened. And
look at you now. You've got two books published there by Enigma Press.
With publishing.
Yeah, brilliant publishing group. And one of the great things about your books, I think, is in a way it's a bit like your poetic autobiography. Would you say that? Do you think?
That's a great description, because it is, and a lot of people will say, "Wow, you're brave. That's very bold. It's very raw. It's very honest." And I am the epitome of she does wear her heart on her sleeve, and I've always lived my life like that. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's not so a good thing. But it seems to have helped a lot of people, and it's helped me. So maybe that's not so bad. But yeah.
You found peace with that, because people are like, oh, I shouldn't really express my views or whatever, but to allow that space, and that encourages other people as well. And I think your performances are really empowering. I saw a performance of yours on YouTube, and it was I think it was about rebellion or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love that. I think we've got these elections going on, and it's sort of we've got all these different topics going on in the news, and I love the way you sort of express that sense of rebellion. And another thing that I thought was great about that video, as well as like your actual words and your performance, was it's like the music video for poets, in a way. And I was wondering, would that be something you'd ever be interested in, sort of setting your words to music, not necessarily singing? We say song and poetry is very similar, but would you ever think about sort of going down that spoken word route, where you gently set your words like to a beat?
Yes, absolutely, and I have done some work on that with East Yorkshire musician Jackson D.
Okay.
We did have a couple of events running last year where we experimented with that, and it proved to be very popular, and it was great. So I think I would love to do more of that, very, very, very specifically. Obviously, it needs a lot of time and preparation, and it's not always easy to match up with others' availability. But yes, I think there's a lot in that, because the music adds the power. And what we did at the time was, it was like a fusion of some of Jackson D's lyrics and melody alongside specific poems chosen from my collections that work together.
Brilliant, yeah.
So there's a very short snippet on YouTube of one of them as well, somewhere down in the archives. So yeah, I would love to do more of that. With different musicians as well, different styles. Very much, particularly some of my more rebellious ones, and more societal rants, if you like. I think that would be a lot of fun.
No, I thought it was great. I mean, I thought like your words and rebellion, it was very powerful on its own. But I thought to myself, this would be even 10x with the music and stuff, just because it looked a bit like a music video. And it's great because you're creating these experiences, these more expansive, creative collaborations, which is something that you do now with a variety of. You've got your own spoken word nights, don't you, and workshops?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've done lots of workshops, and I've co-hosted spoken word evenings and regular groups in the past. So yes, I've dipped my toe in lots of different parts of that creative community. But one thing I wanted to say, and I must shout my son out on this, because I want to start rebellion. My son was the instigator of that poem, because he came home from school one day when he was 8. I think he was about 8. And he'd had a really hard day. He's a child with autism. Finds the educational system incredibly difficult to navigate, particularly during his primary school years. And he came home and said, "I want to start a rebellion."
Okay.
And I actually said, "Wow, I'm with you on that. That would be a great name for a poem. Shall we write a poem?" And he said, "Oh yeah, let's co-author, Mum." And
8 years old. Yeah. That's powerful words from an 8-year-old as well, isn't it?
But I've got to tell you part two. So we said, well, yeah, I tell you what, Mum, you write it and then I'll vet it. And we'll see, we'll see what we think. And obviously there is a naughty word in there that he knows nothing about. But he had the edited version read to me. I like that, Mum. You go perform that spoken word and tell them that. So it's become a very popular poem, and it's been dubbed one of my signature poems of the past.
Oh wow!
It was actually, the theme came from my son that day, and it was just reflecting an awful lot of struggles.
That is brilliant.
In society.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and there you are as a single mum. It's great that you've got your kids involved in your writing as well. So, what do they think about their mum, the author, the performer? It sounds like they really embrace that.
Yeah, they're very proud. They think it's cool. It causes a bit of chatter amongst their peers. But what I've been delighted to see is how much they love writing. And my daughter is now nearly 9, and she's very much wanting to write more poetry, and says, "Oh, I would like to publish these."
Oh wow!
And we're actually writing a children's storybook all together really at the moment, which is wonderful.
Something that you don't really see that much of, like a whole family getting involved in a writing project. So that's incredible. And what's the age range? Is it going to be like their age range or a bit younger?
Well, I want it to be, I think, a picture book storybook. So one of the ones where you would read them to children,
right?
But also maybe 8+ would be able to read it independently.
Okay.
So mixed child audience, I think, at the moment, but it's very much drafted up and all in the raw phase at the moment. But the kids are just loving, let's read it again, let's change this bit, So it's great. It's like a family team effort of creativity. So that's delightful. So we're very much a wordy household.
That's wonderful. Is it going to be one of those ones, because like you get the picture books that they're sort of poetic, aren't they, with the pictures, and they don't have that many words? Is it going to be having that poetic rhythm to it, or is it going to be more prose?
It's more prose.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a rhyming story or anything like that. It's very much a traditional story.
Okay.
With some important themes, but I'm not going to give too much away.
I know. Can you tell? But it's great. Keep all that mystery and suspense, because obviously it's about the Emboldened Heart right now. But in terms of illustrations, I just wanted to quickly say, because both your books have got amazing book covers, really. I mean, you started off with Heart on her sleeve, which had a phoenix rising from the ashes. Was that your idea, or was that?
Yeah, it had to be. I had the phoenix in my head from the beginning, and the original artwork, and then all the weird and wonderful things they do to create it into a book cover was done by Katie at Partnership Publishing, who was the graphics girl there. So she very much did that, and also I spoke to her around the ideas I had around book 2. So again, she gave me a couple of ideas, and I went with the reaching out hands and the purple and vibrancy from that. So they're both, fantastic book covers.
Oh, both very vibrant in their own way. Yeah. The second one sort of it's very artistic and classical in a sense. It reminds me of Michelangelo's Adam, is it? Is that with the
wow.
A little bit, yeah. It's reminded me of that in a way. But what I like about it as well is it's really sort of encapsulating this sense of you are reaching out to those in need through their words. So you couldn't say it better than that, could you? Just in a picture.
Absolutely, it is reaching out and reaching inwards, reaching for self as well. If we don't love self, then we struggle with everything else. So very much about reaching for connection and healing and, helping.
Brilliant. So you've got this tour on the go. It's all sort of in your neck of the woods, really. But what's the venue that would sort of be nearest to Manchester? Have you got any plans to come to Manchester in the near future? I hope so.
Well, I hope so. It's just it takes an awful lot of energy to get a book tour going.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people just think, how they've got all of these events, but it takes a lot of effort and energy. But I would love to come over to the Northwest, and it is on my list.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm coming up in March. I have got Gainsborough, which is obviously Lincolnshire way, and also Brigg, which is North Lincolnshire. I'm also going over to West Yorkshire to Huddersfield towards the end of March, and then Goole, which is East Yorkshire as well. And then April, I've got Doncaster, so South Yorkshire, and Scunthorpe, North East Links. So I do need Manchester on my list.
Well, have a rest in between.
Anybody listening, I would love to come over and share the Emboldened Heart at your group. I'll get my finger out, so to speak, and sort out some Manchester gigs.
It's a mixture of libraries and other venues that you're doing your tour at, isn't it? So it'd be great to get it in a library or another place. We actually broadcast from a building that used to be a Victorian old library, and it's got a great performance space area. So maybe at some point you can come and perform at our space, and it's one of the reasons why I love connecting with authors as well. Keeps the sentiment of the building. So we will see about that. We'll see what we can arrange for you.
Sounds like a plan. Definitely, I would love to. That would be great.
Fabulous. So before I let you go, can you just let us know, where do we get both your books, Heart on Her Sleeve and Emboldened Heart?
Right. Okay. So, obviously for those local-ish to me, well, even then, they can contact me on Instagram at Amanda Crundle Poet, or through my Facebook page, She Wears a Heart on Her Sleeve, and I can send personalised signed copies. I have my own stock stash, so I'm happy to post direct to anybody that would like a copy. But as for online, that is on all the major online retailers, including the Great British Bookshop. I think that is the quickest route from my understanding with how printing world works, which is quite mind-boggling.
Wow.
But anybody can contact me directly, to be honest, Ruth. That might be sometimes the easiest, particularly you get an extra few little bits free if you get a signed copy. So that's my little sales plug.
No, it's a great tip. Loved speaking to you today. Good luck with your book tour, Amanda, and looking forward to what's next for you, because it feels like there is no stopping you now.
Absolutely not. Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed being part of the show, Ruth, and thanks for inviting me. And I shall keep you posted on the future. And I would love to come over to the performance space you've got there as well.
Yeah, definitely.